Go live.
Nice work. We're live. How's it going, Dano?
Mark.
Back at it again for this?
I can't believe we're still doing this.
I guess it beats trading odd lots.
True. All right.
What's up, folks?
We are back again. Welcome to the Everything to Gain podcast. My name is Dan Yu.
And I'm Mark Angelos.
Mark, how are you?
I'm good, brother. Yeah, happy Friday to you.
Today we got a lot to talk about today, and we might be railing on a couple things, but we're calling the show stuff that doesn't exist anymore and stuff that shouldn't. So
I think the first part's to make the highlight of the second stuff.
Yeah, right. So, but everybody, thank you so much for joining us on Everything to Gain. This is episode 16.
What?
16, 1, 6, 1, and 6.
God, it simultaneoly feels like episode 2 and episode 1000 with you.
I don't know if that's a compliment, but yeah. So we're here every show to talk about making positive changes in your life, whether it's personal, but we do like to focus on work and what work life is about. Not necessarily careers, but it could lead into careers, but also improving your own ability to make money. So we're here to talk about stuff that doesn't exist anymore. And
can I break that down for 1 second? Is earning an income. Might mean your corporate job. I'm not a fan of it anymore. Might mean entrepreneurship. I am a fan of that. But it doesn't matter. These apply to both.
Yep, absolutely. So stuff that doesn't exist anymore. So Mark and I had a funny discussion around stuff that was ubiquitous when we were growing up. And
actually, can I tell that quick 10-second story?
Yeah.
My 16-year-old kid comes home from school and tells me they were trying to tear notebooks in half as contests of strength in high school. And I said, when I was growing up, we did that with phone books. And he said, "What's a phone book, Dad?" And I actually pull one out of the old closet. It's an old Yellow Pages. You know what it is. And he goes, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "That's how people found phone numbers back in the day." And he was like, "What?" So anyway, carry on.
So wait, so did you try to rip the phone book?
Yeah, he was like, "That's impossible. Nobody could do it." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll show you some videos." The point was, he's like, why did you even need that? And I'm like, there was a time when this was important. You did need it. If you were the local pizza, this is what I said to him. The local pizzeria, they weren't going to find your number, or the movie theater without this thing. However, today, you don't need it anymore. And we're seeing a lot of that type of thing.
So speaking of something that doesn't exist anymore, the phone book, right?
Yeah.
And also the other funny thing is with phone books, phone booths. Phone booths.
Saw my kid that down at Disney last year. Saw his first phone booth. He's like, "What is that?"
Was it one of the British style, the red ones, or
no? It's a phone, I don't know, alcove in the corner of the garden grove in the bottom area of the restaurant by the bathrooms. I don't even think they worked anymore, but they were there.
The little door you step in.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then the rotary phone, right? So the rotary phone doesn't exist anymore. And also things like the encyclopedia. Right? Since we all have this now in our pockets everywhere, we have an encyclopedia, right? So encyclopedia, and then card catalogs, going to the library. I mean, most of the things, all the books that are out there. I mean, you can have it downloaded right onto your phone, onto your Kindle, Nook, whatever. So what else?
My kid said to me yesterday, I didn't even tell you this. This teacher's so ancient, Dad. She uses PowerPoint. Right. Got it.
There's that the meme that I just referred to this presentation as a PowerPoint, and now everybody knows I'm 50 years old, right? Instead of a slide deck, right?
Yeah, right. Google Slides, baby.
Yeah, and then what's another thing that doesn't exist anymore? Smoking sections.
Oh God, Andrew Dice Clay. You're in a tube on the airplane.
Yeah. Shout out to Aaron Sundman. Mr. Sundman, good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you taking the time. Shout out to Aaron. So let's move on to things that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
That shouldn't exist. And we had some news recently, right? from the second largest company, revenue company on the planet.
Yeah, oh yeah. You're talking about Amazon?
I'll talk about Amazon. Yep.
Return to the office, folks. They wanted as of January 2nd, whether you like it or not, you're in the office 5 days a week because, of course, productivity requires this, doesn't it now, Dano?
Oh, absolutely. You need to have your, in-person collaboration. Now, there is the debate, right? There's the debate that, do white-collar jobs really have to be required in the office? I mean, for some jobs, of course, they're replacing the warehouses with robots.
Dude, we both come out of fintech. The technology world has not been in the office 5 days a week for about 30 years.
Yeah.
Right? Developers are over in India. The QA is going on in Asia. Like, are you kidding me? This is proven. It works.
Yeah. And so Amazon's going to replace many of these white collar jobs with AI, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this is a typical and tried and true, actually, strategy by big corporations to lay people off or reduce headcount without having to fire people, right? So it's tried and true. There's many companies that have done this over time. I remember it was like 2017, 2018. IBM had implemented, oh yes, the remote work. You go be fully remote, and then like a year and a half later, they were like, oh, everybody returned to office, and that was before COVID, right? And so then all these people had moved to wherever, the middle of nowhere, and now they're required to go into an office, and it totally shook up a whole bunch of people.
I think we've proven that the remote work thing works in terms of the companies can still make money. However,
100%. Yeah.
And this is not the focus of this program. Of this episode is not about the whole micromanaging of corporate. But does it need to be exist? Do white collar jobs that are required to be in the office 5 days a week? Do those need to exist?
Well, there's also now using location tracking, right?
Oh,
so PwC, right, and some other companies, they've been in the news using location tracking on the laptops to enforce return to office, right? And then there's also the other thing where I saw a couple of weeks ago where people would be forced to clock in, and it's called there's a term for it. It's like coffee checking in or something. So you would come in, swipe your card to get in the building, go have your coffee, and then do the walk around.
Dude, so when my last job on Wall Street at the stock exchange, you can look it up. They had required sales meetings every morning because during COVID lockdown from home, they wanted to make sure we checked in every day. The first thing we did, my family, we drove down to Florida. That's another story.
Right.
So I'm pulling over on the side of like a Fairfield Inn on Route 95 in their back with I kid you not, cardboard behind me to make it look like it was like the joke on the internet right now. And they're like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in my backyard. Because guess what? I'm just as ineffective as a sales guy as I am, in Florida as I am in New Jersey. So guess what? The point is, and actually your old employer, large investment bank out of New York City, they got in trouble for tracking. They had devices on the desks that when you sat at your desk, it would record. And when you it wouldn't record. And when you stepped off to go to the bathroom or whatever, it would start recording. So they had the data around how many hours you'd put in the chair. Yeah,
in the chair. Right. Could be at a client though, right? Like you don't know, and the algo doesn't know either, right? So, why did they do it, right? It's all about control.
100%.
It's all about control, and the only option really is to go find a company that doesn't do that type of thing, because it's all about control and trust.
That's not the only option. You can make yourself unfireable.
You can make yourself unfireable. That's right. Right. And we actually see that with the Starbucks new CEO who's taking the company plane. He's commuting 1,400 miles to get to the office.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, let's be honest though. I would do the same if I were him. If I could take my company plane from California up to Oregon or whatever, Seattle.
Yeah. So now I will say that with 85% of all jobs, right, it's in America that are with a small to medium sized business, right, it may be critical for people to be in the premises, right? So it could be retail, manufacturing, packaging. Now, how much of that will go away? Still TBD. But
a lot of it's going away, Dano. I hate to say it. I don't take any pride in this, but the goal of these companies is to reduce expense, and their number one expense is employees.
Is head count, right? So to that end, I know of this really talented marketing person, right, who loves their remote job, but the office that was closest to their house was completely closed, right? And so, and this is a person that's beloved by colleagues. They're beloved. They live a couple miles from the beach, right? And they've been going to this office for years, right? And of course, they're not moving. They live 2 miles from the beach, and so now they have to be going to find another job, right? None of the colleagues want this person to leave. Nobody wants them to leave. Even upper management is like, we wish we could keep you, but policy. So anyway, now the people who are left in that job, they're left holding the bag. They got to go find a replacement that's closer to corporate headquarters, which of course, it's tough, to find somebody, really fast to go replace that person.
So I always viewed it as two sets of rules. There's the rules and company policies that they have for the employees. But then there's also a set of rules the employees have for that employer. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to be an employer and you're going to dance, you're going to jump the hoops, because if that's not the fit, I can't stay there long term anyway.
Yeah. And so anyway, there's that's one thing, right, that probably shouldn't exist. The white collar jobs that are required to be in the office, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's going away, to be honest with you. I think AI will do it for us, whether we like it or not. I think that you're going to have people making decisions on their own to be autonomous, or they don't have a choice. But either way, those jobs are going away.
So what about the single-threaded career? What do we think about that?
I don't think that's existed for 10 years now. There's no such thing as a career. First of all, the word career is over. We've heard the term mashup, right? You basically can have a hodgepodge of employers if you want. I've done that. Yeah, I mean, that was the way to do
it now. We actually do it now.
Right. But I mean, like, you were a full-on in-service employee of a different company every few years. And sadly, that became the way to make the most amount of money quickest. That's not, but the social compact between employers and employees has been broken for. My dad worked for 30 years, same company. My kid will never do that, nor will yours.
Never. Right. But we are hearing now of, people that you would think that would have a single-threaded career, like nurses and, medical people, educators, right? They're making pivots, right? They're creating their own side hustles, and they're figuring out new ways to make money, right? Because ultimately they need to be mentally stimulated. They need to make more money. There's all of these things that AI is actually pushing these people to do this.
Yeah.
Right?
So the thing with AI, can I share my quote here?
Yeah,
this is a conversation Dan and I had before the show, and I said this quote, and I kind of like it. Your ability to earn an income from a corporate job is going away, and the longer you wait, the less optionality you will have, because AI is accelerating, and these companies will use it to do one thing and one thing only: reduce the cost of their highest expense. Their job is to get rid of expense,
which is people.
That's people.
People, right?
So this is where I would say, at this point, you and I don't always agree, Dan. I might say you got to go to business for yourself. You might say you can find yourself your side gig, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter, but change has to happen.
Change is happening no matter what, right?
This path isn't working for folks.
So we have to go take one step back, right? And the problem, right, that that we've grown up in is the corporate world supporting the educational system as is.
And vice versa.
Right. And so one thing that really has to change, it shouldn't exist anymore, is education keeping the status quo. Now, it was the only path to success. And we've seen, right, especially growth of trades and all that stuff, as exploding, right? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
It's you're not going to like these thoughts. You probably already know what I'm going to say, but like, controversially, I'm going to make a quick metaphor. There's God, who's the all-powerful, loving creator. And there's religion, which is the man-made set of rules that tries to put him in a box. In the same way, you have education, which is becoming more knowledgeable about whatever it is you need. And there's the business of education, which is this evil, nefarious machine. I want you to imagine in your head a bear trap for every small child that's born. And you're put through a conveyor belt a la Pink Floyd, The Wall. And you come out the back end into the corporate world or whatever job it is. The loans can't get extinguished from student, debt. The companies get their money because you are in their employ, and then the government gets taxed, by the way, who funds all the loans. So there's this perfect triumvirate to set up this whole thing. So kids are put into a trap that you don't have the autonomy to then, you can't say what you want on social. You can't make your money in the way you would like. You have to fit the mold. And that is what people are pushing back against. It starts at school.
And I think there's been this battle between proficiency, right? So to that end, right, proficiency, getting good enough so that you become a cog in the wheel, right, and cog in the machine, right, versus true growth, right? Which I think you and I really want to support true growth, but
education is happening outside the school systems.
100%, right? We have the world's human knowledge in our phones, right? So, but I do think though that structure does help people, and I think many communities, especially underserved communities, they need even more funding for education, so that there has to be this leveling of the skills, right? I mean, we all know how there's a disparity in equality, right, for educational resources. That's well documented, and so I do think that education does have to adapt, and it also has to serve the communities that need it the most.
I'm going to say I agree with you, by the way. Formal education has to compete for the customer's dollar.
Right.
The same way every other company has to compete for my dollar. My education facilities also. I'm sorry.
Right. And it's not necessarily money either, though, right? It's time, right? It's because the time that you spend going through a traditional education there's an opportunity cost, right, to not go and learn something completely different as well, right? Because there's always so much time in the day, right? I'd love to focus a little bit on apprenticeships, if you guys so the hands-on skills, right? So I've touched on it before, but HVAC, plumbing, electrical, right? Yep. Trades.
Agreed.
Having these apprenticeships and really just using that as an educational jumping off point, right? I think that there's a massive potential here. I think people are exceedingly more interested in doing things like prompt engineer, right? When there's the demand for plumbing, right?
Yeah.
Demand for HVAC, climate change, whatever, right? All of that stuff is going to either stay exactly the same or increase. There's no going down, right? So there's going to be more demand for HVAC. There's going to be more demand for plumbing as they continue to build out housing.
Yeah.
Right?
So my uncle used to manage a supermarket back in the day, and when the freezers would kick off and they would go out of, he would call up and he'd be like, "Listen, I got $14,000 worth of meat that's going to be bad in a couple of hours. I need you over here." And the guy's like, "All right, coming right over." There was never a conversation on how much is this going to cost. This has got to get done.
Yeah, and of course your plumbing stops working at the most inopportune times.
Yeah, right.
Sunday night, right?
Christmas dinner, right?
Yeah,
totally.
It's always going to be inconvenient, right? And so, by the way, my kids' old high school in Pittsburgh, they used to have an HVAC program. So you would get your high school degree, but then you would learn a lot of HVAC skills, and it would make this graduate that so much more marketable towards getting hired. And they inevitably got hired at the HVAC, which is great, and it's an amazing program. I did talk to this. I'm at the local Mexican joint. I met a plumber. He's a friend of a friend. Actually, he's a friend of our plumber. And I was talking to him like, "Oh, I love plumbing as a career for people. Do you ever take on apprentices?" And he's just a single guy, right? Like a sole proprietor type business. And he goes, "I've been going to high schools in this area for 15 years."
Wow. Trying
trying to and saying, I will pay the student to become an apprentice, and when I retire, I will hand them my book of business.
They're not getting
And
they're
I,
not getting
I
that
go,
kind of support though from the school or from the parents.
and I go, that's an amazing program. That sounds awesome. I'm sure you've had a ton of success. How many students have come through your apprenticeship program? And he goes, not one kid
Well, that sucks.
said yes. And I thought, and I make the joke. I made a joke, and I said, would you ever consider a mid-50s ex-Wall Street guy as an apprentice? And he goes, when can you start?
That's
He was
hilarious.
serious. Yeah, I was making a joke, and he was serious.
Yeah, I'm sure he was, because he doesn't care. If you're good, you're good.
Yeah, and he said, it takes a little bit of sales skills, relationship skills, being a good listener for the customer, all the EQ stuff that we talk about, right? And it's not necessarily about being the best plumber in the world, right?
But dude, the trades like that, plumbing, electrical, like there's no racism, there's no sexism, there's none of that. You either can make my thing, you're fixing it, or you're not. Like, you didn't mess my house up when you stopped the plumbing leak, or you didn't. Like, that's the way life should be.
Yeah, and we actually met a couple of kids who graduated high school this past June, and they were going into an electrical apprenticeship. Love these kids, and these kids were also curious, right? They're also, like, hey, you're Dan, you're a career coach. What advice would you give to me? What's the best piece of advice you could give? Learn sales, relationship management. Learn sales.
That's a great piece of advice, Daniel. We're all in the sales game, whether we know it or not.
Whether we know it or not. That's right.
You're either selling for someone else, you're selling for yourself.
So speaking of being an entrepreneur, I'd love to give a shout out to our audience. Has anybody had a lemonade stand? The OG, hustle, right?
We've all done lemonade stands.
The lemonade stands. I love a lemonade stand, right? It's like kids in the neighborhood. They'll have the lemonade stand. I always come by like, hey, how much is a cup? They go, quarter. I'm like, oh, $5, right?
Done.
Why not? They're like, oh, like $5. Oh,
you
my
cheap
God.
ass. I did $20 this past summer.
Well, it depends on how old the kid is.
But truthfully, you've created a memory for this kid in the business sense that he's never going to forget. That's great.
Yeah, $5. Like, he's like, I said it was. Oh, we have a comment here from the audience. Aaron McKelkey. Oh, here you go. Here we have the question: will autonomous AI agents fill the role of apprentices and interns in the future?
Not with the physical manipulation, Aaron. In my opinion, yes, for any kind of data-oriented thing. But when you're talking about the bend in the pipe into your sink, or the fact that we're not really sure what the problem is with the electrical, you might need to pull like wires out. No. I mean, eventually, Elon's building his little Optimus robots. Yeah, we get there, but that's a generation away.
So, by the way, I just want to point out that 100% of our comments come from men named Aaron.
I love it, Aaron.
Aaron Stuggan and Aaron McKelkey. What's up, Mr. McKelkey? It's thank you so much to the Aarons of the world for joining our show today.
To Aaron's Summer's point, thanks for the comment, is you want to encourage kids to start thinking beyond just, hey, you're going to be funneled down this channel, whether you like it or not. That's why I do that.
100%. So, which actually brings us to our next topic, right? So, restricting students from using AI or ChatGPT.
Oh God.
I mean, there was this initial knee-jerk reaction a year or two ago when the educational system was reeling and saying, "Oh, we're going to have these bots to try to find students that are using ChatGPT."
Good luck.
I mean, ultimately, these are the skills that that students will need in the future.
So wait, are they using bots to find the kids that are using calculators? Are they using bots to find the kids that aren't using the quill and the ink? Like, are they using bots for the kids that are using the typewriter?
The quill?
Seriously, what do you think is going to happen? This thing's going to go away? That you won't be living in a world of AI? That we're going to just suddenly be able to like outlaw it? It is crazy. It reminds me of when rock and roll tried to ban Elvis because he shakes his hips. Like, I get that you don't like that the students are using it, but if they don't know how to critically think, you don't know how to Google. If you don't know how to use these AI tools, You just lose to the kid that does.
That's right. Right. And by the way, that kid doesn't have to necessarily be in the same school. That kid actually is going to be in the backwoods of some second or third world country that just happens to have an internet connection, and they're going to be more competitive than you in a heartbeat.
Bingo.
So the kids today, they have to use ChatGPT. They have to use whatever, Perplexity, any of these tools to be competitive on the global marketplace. And that's the one thing that I am just
AI will be built into everything. Aaron's
that?
Right. So to hold on a second, I think that the point is that if you go to the end product deliverable of whatever company's thing is, the customer doesn't care how you made it. They don't care if there's AI in there or not. They don't care that it took me 12 guys to build the thing versus you have 2. They don't care if it's good.
They don't care.
And schools are still stuck. And they're not. I can rail all I want, Dan, so can you. But the reality is it's on us to teach the kids this. My kid, I'm working hard so he understands how to use these tools.
Yeah, and you should. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Aaron McKelkey, my friend, who the teacher. He's a high school history teacher in Wyoming. He is actually encouraging his students
I love you, Aaron.
Using ChatGPT, AI, whatever, Perplexity. Massive shout out to Mr. McKelkey. He is doing it, and he's doing it on the front lines with kids and teaching them how to do it. So massive shout out to you.
Hats off to you, Aaron. I think that you're absolutely ahead of the curve, but also I'm guessing that you're getting the stink eye from a lot of the other people that you work with, right? The colleagues are giving you the side eye of like, what's he doing? I don't, but I did the same thing in Wall Street when I was writing content. The reality is you don't have to like the future. Like, you don't have to like it, but this is what it is.
It's
whatever
reality.
people's opinions are. Right.
Reality. Yeah. And by the way, other people's opinion is none of your business. So, and knowing Aaron McKelkey a bit, he don't give a shit. So
good.
I mean,
good.
He don't care. He don't.
And that's
care.
the key to life. That's what you got to teach these kids. I love it.
Right. So, which goes right into our last bit here. Things that shouldn't exist. A fear of change. Right.
I mean, isn't that what stops everybody? Right? The biggest argument in the world is when I don't know how to do. You have no excuse ever for saying I don't know, ever, in anything, in any area of business or otherwise. In an AI Google world, it's all there now. We've gotten to the point where, you know, in the ancient medieval times where only the learned had the information and the education. If you weren't part of the Catholic Church, you couldn't read and write, like all those. That's over. So the whole thing now is you're just afraid. So what are you doing about it?
There's actually a site. It's like things I should have Googled, or and you actually type in your search in there, and then you cut and paste it, right? Cut and paste the link, and it comes back with a very slow crawl of typing in the search bar that you can text to the person that asked, hey, what, whatever topic, right? And whatever question, you send it to them, and it's like you're shoving it in their face, right? And saying, you could have done this yourself.
Aaron's got a killer comment. Aaron, I love this. You know who hated the crossbow? The guy who kept using the bow and arrow. So true. The LinkedIn user who says here that the Luddites that want to hold back the kids are the problem in school. In modern world, I'm going to make a quick metaphor. The buyer's journey has changed, right? Because of the internet and social media specifically, the buyer knows as much as the seller about the product. That's not news. But the companies are still selling the old way. Hey, come talk to my, schedule a call. We'll educate you on the thing. My point is the school system's doing that too. It's the same, like the buyer's different. Your students are not the same students as a generation ago.
Yeah, the buyer is way more savvy, right? They're way more savvy, and they're much more impatient. They're 100%. Much more patient, right? Because they want it now. They want it yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? And with ChatGPT, it can be served up, especially if you're going to create your own LLMs that actually know what you want. There's actually all of these now. It's coming out, right? These retailer bots, right? That know that, oh, you know what? We're going to curate this outfit for you, right? Oh. And now they actually serve it up and they mail it to you. My wife does this. And so we get a box every 3 or 4 weeks of curated clothes, but that's actually going to happen without the physical box anymore, guaranteed, because it's just going to show up. And you know where I was reminded of this? So the movie Clueless, right, from like 30 years ago.
What's her name? Alicia Silverstone?
Alicia Silverstone, right?
Ah,
Okay, so that movie, in the beginning, she's trying to figure out what she's going to wear to school that day. And she actually has this, like, little computer where she's like, she's like choosing the outfits and like matching the tops and the bottoms. And
dude.
it's like swipe right, swipe left. And I'm like, oh my God. I was watching it last night and I go, oh my God, that's AI right there.
100%.
Right?
This is Tony Stark building
30
Jarvis.
years ago, Pop Culture Friday, right? I should write about that for my
you know where the business world is headed, and this is another show. We'll do some other time. But the sales bot that pitches my stuff is going to engage with your buyer bot that gets rid of the crappy sales stuff. And there's never people in the middle of the mix, at least at the beginning.
That's right.
So my whole point is, it doesn't matter. It's that change is happening. Things are different now. Education, business,
faster than you can imagine.
Right. No school's going to keep up with that. So the onus is on the person to be like, okay, what do I do to make myself relevant, able to make money and succeed in this world? And the answer is education, but not the way it's been done.
Not the way it's been done. Correct. And so, there's different ways that you can educate yourself, right? So there's different things that you can learn. Mark, you were actually telling me before the show some of the things you're looking to build out there.
So a lot of the stuff I do, I train solopreneurs and entrepreneurs who are trying to get into business, set the thing up. I'm doing a workshop next week. If anyone cares, it's free. You're going to yell at me for this one. But basically, it's about how to sell in the digital era, right? Because selling now, we just said the buyer's journey is different. And I think that people who want to try to figure out how to make money have to learn steps. So when you and I came out of corporate, Dan, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. I wish I'd been told, like, I'd been selling for 30 years. I know how to sell. I honestly think I'm one of the best out there. But then there's all this other crap I didn't know about. Crafting an offer. How do you price it? What's a content strategy? How do you do a discovery call into a closing via the digital channels? Like, no one ever pulls you aside and explains the funnel. My point is, I'm trying to help people do that. So if that's of interest to you guys, email me. My email's at the bottom of the screen here, and I'll tell you the link. It's free.
So where will you have it? Would we have it over Zoom? Like, how's that going to work?
Yeah, so it's going to be Google Meet, but yeah, Zoom call basically, and I will do a 60-minute presentation, walk you through. If you want to learn more, we can always do more, but the reality is the basic outlines of what you should be doing to make money, whether you're an employee, whether you're new in business, or if you're in your business and you're struggling, like an entrepreneur for yourself, your problem is going to be one of those areas. It's either in how you're crafting your offer, how you're messaging it, or how you're selling it. So people don't realize this. And a lot of folks that come out of corporate have done quite well. We did very well on Wall Street, but it's not the same when you're trying to make money for yourself.
So that's awesome. I'm sure people get a lot out of it. I think they're going to really just get, even if it's one tidbit, right? I mean, you said it's free, right?
It's free.
It's a free workshop. It's like
minutes.
an ask me anything, right?
That's exactly what it is. So what I'll do is I'm going to walk through what my experience was when I went into business 5 years ago. Almost, it was pretty much a challenge. I didn't have an offer. I was just like, okay, I'm really good. I can do a lot of stuff. That's not going to get you where you want to go if you want to start making repeat income.
That's awesome. And how long should people expect to be on this thing?
So I'm doing this on Tuesday, the 24th, 7:00 Eastern time. That's this coming Tuesday. It'll be 1 hour. And again, it's not meant as a pitch. It is meant to try to help people who are trying to build their own businesses. If you are an employee and you're thinking of leaving, or if you're struggling as a young entrepreneur, it'll help you.
That's awesome. So everybody, definitely please check out what he's got going on. And your contact info is right there. Mark at Invictus. Awesome.
Email me. I'll send you the link. No obligation.
I would like to let you know about the new stuff that I'm pitching.
Yeah, let's hear it.
There's a belief that I've long held around future-proofing your career, right? And there's a methodology that I've built over the years to really help people focus with some tips and strategies on really creating a sustainable path. And it's not about one career path. I call the course Future Proof Your Career, but really it's around diversifying how you make your money and over time, as well as creating the sustainable skill set where you can use it over and over and over again. I'm going to put it into the chat right now. If you have any questions, you can find me at DanOU on LinkedIn as well as Linktree. You can hit me up there directly, and happy to talk about it more. So,
that sounds awesome, Dano. Seriously, and I've known you long enough. I think that this is going to be very helpful to people as well. The thing I would leave people with on my end is start playing around these AI tools. Start figuring out how to use them for yourself, whether you're building a business, you want to switch your career, you want to educate yourself. These things can save you time, and a lot of people are waiting.
Yeah, they're waiting for the shoe to drop, ultimately, right? They're waiting for the shoe to drop.
Like, we're in a window. If you're not able to run the 5K, you're not going to be able to run the marathon. And what do you think is coming?
That's right. That's right. It's a long slog, whether you're 25 or 55 or 65.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I don't know if I told you this yet, but all of our episodes are now on our YouTube channel at E2G Show.
That's rather embarrassing to hear.
And
I didn't know that.
Everything's up. Every episode's on our YouTube channel. We are broadcasting live on Twitch at E2G Show there as well, and we have a new podcast channel on Spotify. So we're going big, bro.
Let me give a little behind the scenes on the rope-a-dope that you pulled on me, by the way. Dude, we'll just hop on a call together, we'll hang out, and we'll record it and see what happens. And I'm like, I've known Dan for 30 years. I'm like, yeah, I'll hang on a call. Anytime you want to hang out. He's like, right. Next thing you know, he's like, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on podcasting.
Episode 16, dude.
Thanks for nothing.
So I want to preview next week's episode. We're gonna have
what do we got?
Aaron McKelkey coming on.
All right.
So
Aaron,
we're gonna have Aaron come on and talk about some of the things that he has learned, both on personal branding but also with AI. So
I'd love to hear some stories from you, Aaron.
Yeah. All right. Well, to the audience, thank you so much again for joining us here at E2G at Everything to Gain. My name's Dan Yu. It is a pleasure to do this for you. We really appreciate the feedback. Any feedback that you have for us so that we can become better, we welcome it. We actually want it.
If it's critical, especially directed at Dan, if it's not, I'll take it.
That's 30 years of friendship right there. So anyway, the intro and outro music from our friend LJ Tisdale.
Oh, right.
Hey, shout out to LJ. So, Mark, have a good
thanks
weekend,
for everything, Dano. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys. We appreciate the fact is we're hoping we didn't waste your time, but it's nice. Hopefully there were some tidbits in here that prompt you guys to just start doing something to make those pivots.
Yeah, make your changes. All right. Hopefully we've inspired you. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks so much for joining.
Peace, everybody.